Hello everyone and welcome to the first part of day 1 in the winter virtual camp. We will start by the following. We will click on Start Tinkering, and this is basically related to the circuits of our project. So we will click on New and then choose Circuit. Once we click on circuit, we will get to this beautiful interface that has a lot of components that are very useful and have a lot of features. Over here, you can click on all components and you can just have a look at the different components that Tinkercad offers. Moreover, you can just click on search and you can type in whatever component you want. For example, I can just type in battery and it will get me all the results that are related to my search. Okay, now the main component that we're going to use for this camp is the microbit. The microbit is a beautiful component. Over here I click and then I drag to the empty space over here. Okay, and as you can see, the minute I click on release the drag of the component, I get the name that I can change. I can have micro 1, or you can just leave it as 1. It's up to you. And then you can even change the color. So let's keep it red for now. From here, you can see that I had a lot of options that are now revealed to me. One of them is the copy, paste, delete. All of these are options that I can use. For example, I can just click on the first microbit. I can click on copy, and then I can click paste and put it here. You can do the exact same thing using Ctrl+C and Ctrl+P. And I can also delete any microbit that I do not want, or any component in general. We also have the undo button, or you can just click on Ctrl+Z. Also, you have a notes tool, which is very important. You can put it over here. Let's have this a bit far. And we can also have another note over here. Also, this would be the toggles notes visibility. So if I don't want to see my notes, I can just remove them, or I can put them here. Also, if you want to connect wires, you can simply connect wires using this. So if I click on the 3V, for example, my wire is green, I can connect it to anywhere. Or I can just click escape, because for now we are not connecting wire, at least for this part of the experiment. Over here we have the code and the start simulation and send to, and this is where you share your experiment. Let's start by zooming out, and by zooming out you can use this you can do this using your mouse or your keypad. You can just zoom out. And I'm going to have 4 different microbits. So I'm just going to Control copy, Control paste there. I'm gonna do the same over here, and I'm going to put notes next to each one of them. So let's have different colors for the microbit. The first one is going to be red, and the name is 1. The second one, the name is 2. Let's choose another color, yellow. And then the third one, the name is 3, and then green. Fourth one name is 4, and color is blue. So now I have 4 microbits, and I'm going to program each one of them to do a certain function. The first one over here, I'm going to write down, it's going to show an icon, and this will be explained in the programming video. The second one, we are going to show string. Third one, we are going to animate, so animation. And finally, The fourth one is another animation. So for the first part of day one, all you need to do is just have 3 microbits that you will program later. Hello everyone, and welcome to the programming part of the first task in day one in the winter virtual camp. What we are going to do right now is we're going to code the 4 microbits that we put in the first video. We have 4 microbits. One of them is to show an icon, 1 to show a string, and 2 for animation. And in order to make sure you are programming the correct microbit, you need to click on it. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Clicked on the first microbit. As you can see, the name is 1, the color is red. We are going to go to code, and we are going to click here, and we are going to go to text. This is how we basically move to the Python code. Now, before we do that, I'm just going to go to block and show you something. We are going to show an icon, and to show an icon in Tinkercad, you can see that we already have some icons that are embedded in Tinkercad. So whatever you write, you will choose one of these icons according to their names. So I'm going to remove all the blocks here, and then I'm going to make this text. Okay. So I have an empty text. If there's anything, please remove it so you can start over. Okay, so I'm just gonna write one simple line of code, which is the following: basic show icon names happy. What does this mean? It means that I am going to show, which is an output, I will show an icon. And this icon is one of the icon names that there are in Tinkercad, and its name is happy, which is the smiley face that I showed you in the block code. So, and that would be the only line actually in the first microbit. Now, as I said, this is just an icon. Now, if I want to have the same thing but for a string, I'm going to click on the microbit. I make sure that the name and color are correct, and then I am going to do the following. Let me so here I'm just going to write down basic show string. So last time it was an icon. Now we are going to have an output of a string. A string could be numbers, or it could be letters, or just, exclamation marks, stuff like that. So any text you actually want to put, you can type it here and it will show. That would be a string. So it's kind of a variable. This would also be the only line for the second microbit. What this does is that it puts an output. So whenever I start the simulation, it basically starts with an output that I defined. First one I defined as an icon, the second as a string. Now we are going to move to the third one, which is the animation. Now, for the animation, we are going to define first a variable. We are going actually to define a loop first before we go into variables. Okay. So we have here define on forever. What is forever? Forever is a loop that will go on and on continuously. What does this mean? It means that whatever I put within this loop, so I have to define a beginning and an end. Within this beginning and end, all the lines that I write will keep repeating on forever. So, for example, I'm going to do the following. So over here, I have the show LEDs command. In this command, we are basically drawing something. So you can see that I have a square somehow of LEDs, and these LEDs, I'm going to light only the LEDs that I want to form a shape. So in the first row of LEDs, I have only the second and the third lit on. And then the second row, I have the first three. And when I say lit on, I mean I put a hashtag instead of a dot. So if you want it off, you put a dot. If you want it on, or you want to switch it on, you put a hashtag, and you draw the shape that you want. You can see from here that we have some kind of a duck over here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to animate something. Animating something means I am drawing multiple pictures. However, I am just leaving some space between them, or moving it a bit to the right, a bit to the left, or up or down according to the animation you want. They're called frames actually. So I keep on drawing according to what animation I want. So that would be the first image. And then in order to show the transition, we need to do the following. I'm going to put a delay. So what is this delay for? This delay is to show the transition. And when I want the transition to move like from the first image to the second image, I need to control the speed of this transition using the delay. So I pause. For here, I chose 500 milliseconds. Try changing the time and see how the transition between the first and second image starts. So the more you delay, the slower the transition will be. Also, make sure that everything is aligned. So the basic show command and the basic pause command are both aligned on the same margin. Now I'm going to draw my second image. Here we are. This would be my second image. However, as you can see, I'm not aligned over here. So I need to go back. And there we have our second image that is fully aligned and everything is within the same column. So that makes sense. Okay, so what's the difference here in my second image? We can have this, we still have this shape of a duck. However, instead of it starting from the first row, it started from the second row, and the full first row is just dots. The second row here, we started the image just like the same, just like the first image. And then we are going to add another delay. And adding another delay, you can just simply copy and paste, but make sure everything is aligned. And then after that, we just need to close the forever loop. How do we do that? It is quite simple. There is a line of code that we write. There. It is basic forever on forever. What does this mean? I am closing my loop. So I defined the loop on forever. I put whatever I wanted inside, and then I closed the loop, and this loop will go on forever. Okay, let's move on. Of course, there will be some errors if you do not have the correct spelling, the correct margin, if everything is not aligned. So make sure everything is correct before you go on to the next microbit. Now moving on, in this animation, or in this microbit, we are going to animate again. Again, we went to text, Python code, and we are doing the same thing all over. So I'm going to define a forever loop. There we go. So we have a forever loop. Again, now, in this case, I'm going to choose an icon. There we are. and it's going to be the heart icon. Now, if you check in the block here, let's go to blocks, and you see the icons, you can see that we have a full heart icon over here. So it's the same command, however, we are just, let us go back to the text. We are just choosing another icon, so it is somehow another icon. Let us start over. So we are going again. I just wanted to show you the icon because it's important to see how it looks like. We are going to choose an icon, which is the heart icon, and then we are going to do another animation, and that is easy. So how did we do the animation last time? We basically used dots and hashtags to decide which is on and which is off. So before we do that, we are going to add a delay, just like last time. Here we have our delay, exactly the same as last time, and then we are going to have our small heart. Here we are. There we go. And this is not aligned. I have to put it back. It has to be exactly aligned. And as you can see here, I have a small heart. It is smaller than the icon that I chose. So what does this indicate? It indicates that my animation will be a full heart that reduces to a smaller heart and then goes back to a full heart, and so on and so forth, in a forever loop. Okay, again we will do the pause. Here we go. Is it aligned? Yes, it is aligned. And then again we just basic. Of course this is not correct. It has to start from the beginning. Basic, forever, and then on forever. What does this mean? I am closing my loop. Okay, so now I closed my forever loop. Now let us start the simulation and see what happens. So the first microbit over here is basically showing a smiley face, which is the icon happy that we chose. The second one, we missed it. Let's just start the simulation again. It is a string that says hello, or whatever text you put. You should see it here. Next, we have our animation. As you can see, the duck is moving up and down with a small delay between the animation. And if your animation is stuck, just start the simulation again. You can see we have full heart that is reducing to a small heart. Of course, any shape that you like, you can draw, because the technique is very easy. Now, all you need to do is just try to imagine when you switch on and off the LEDs, what kind of image you will get. And from that, you can make different animations. I'm pretty sure you guys are creative and you will find very nice drawings to do. Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of day 1 in the winter virtual camp. Now we are going to use 5 microbits. What I did right here is that I used 5 tabs, and each one of them I started a new project. So make sure they're not all the same project. And then I am going to get 1 microbit in each one of them, and I'm going to write a note of what is the function of this microbit. So the first microbit over here is the button microbit. What does this mean? We are going to use the buttons that are available in microbit. So we have the A button over here and the B button, and we can use these buttons in order to control something. The second microbit, let me drag it over here, and then I'm going to add a note. This will be shake. What does this mean? We have 5 different movements of the microbit that we can use within our program to basically specify something, or to use it as a beginning of a series of commands, or any movement that you would like. And this is how we're going to use it, and we're going to program it in the next video. As for the third microbit, it will be temperature display. So the microbit actually has a temperature sensor that can tell us the ambient temperature, and what we're going to program is basically the readings of this temperature sensor and display it in the microbit. We also have another sensor, which is the light display. So we have a light sensor that can tell us the light level, and we will display the readings of this sensor on the microbit using also programming. Finally, the last microbit is the compass reading, compass reading display, or we can just say compass display. So the microbit actually has 4 sensors: the accelerometer, temperature, light, and compass sensors. These are all very important sensors, and they can be used in a lot of engineering applications, in detectors, and so many more. They can also be used in your projects towards the end of the camp. So be careful how we are going to program each and every microbit in order to be able to use it on your own. Hello everyone, and welcome to the programming part of the second half of the missions of day 1. Now we are going to program 5 different microbits with 5 different functions. The first microbit is to basically know how to control things using the buttons. So the first line of code that we need to add is to define the action of clicking the button. And how do we do that? We basically do the following. We define on button pressed A. What does this mean? On button press, that means when I press on button A, and make sure the spelling is correct and the everything is correct. It has to be highlighted in blue, and you have to write A. Make sure it's A, and then the parentheses and the semicolon. So now we started the definition of the first command. You enter, and then you will have to write the output that you need. What is the output? In this case, we are going to put a smiley face which is happy. You already wrote this line of code for the first half, so you can just copy and paste it, or you can write it again. It's up to you. But now we know, at least when we press the button, A, we should see the icon happy. Now we also need to make sure everything is aligned. So now the definition is aligned, the output is aligned. Now we need to conclude our command of the button, and we do that using this line. Of course, now it's red, so that means there's something wrong, because it has to be aligned with the first definition. Here we are defining that the on button press is an input, where button A is our input and on button pressed A is our command. After that, we are going to put another command for button B. So we can do the same exact thing. Just gonna copy, paste, but instead of A, I'm just gonna write B. And then I can do the following. I can either put the icon, or we can use the same LED line that we used previously, which is this one. And we can draw any kind of drawing you would like. So I am going to do the following. I will draw a sad face, as you can see over here. Let me fix the alignment. So as you can see, this is my sad face. I drew it instead of using the icon directly, in order for us to practice how to draw. Later on, we will also do the same thing. So I'm going to input on button pressed, but instead of A, I'm going to change A to capital B, and then on button pressed B. So make sure everything is correct. If you're going to copy and paste, make sure you're copying and pasting the right thing. Let us start the simulation. Okay, so if I click on A, it shows a happy face. When I click on B, it shows a sad face. Now let's move to the second microbit, which is a shake microbit. Now we are going to understand the 5 different movements, or the main 5 different movements of the microbit. However, there are more commands than these 5 movements that are there in the microbit. So you can actually use so many things within that range of gestures, you can say. So let us start with the first command, which is the definition of the gesture. So in Python, this is called a gesture, and you are going to, once we start the simulation, you will be able to see what exactly is a gesture and how do you put it on. Okay, so the gesture that we are using is shake. There are different gestures. You can check each and every gesture, but there are multiple gestures. Okay, then we are going to put some kind of an output. Let's put another output. Let's put the heart output, and we already know how to do that. So we just show an output, a basic show icon, and the icon name is heart. So we already know that we're going to draw a heart. Then we are going to also write basic, and then we just clear screen. Okay, so I show the heart, I clear the screen. Okay, now make sure there is no space here. So clear screen, and that's it. Everything's aligned. Okay. Now let us make sure that we understand that this is an input, and we make the program understand that. So here we go. Input on gesture. So we have the gesture is the shake. So we are defining that the gesture which we are choosing is the shake, and we are defining that as our command on gesture shake. Okay, so let's start the simulation. These are the different gestures. I will try the shake gesture, and you can see, we can see a heart over here. Now let's go to the third microbit. The third microbit says temperature display. Now microbit has a very nice set of sensors. We have the temperature sensor, the light sensor, the accelerometer, and the compass sensor. And these sensors are used as input values for the microbit, and you can display these values. So let's have a look at what this means. We will start with, first of all, we will start with the definition of a forever loop, and we already know how to do that. and then we are going to put an output. So the output here is the basic show string. The string will show us the temperature, but how do we decide? Because if you just write temperature, you will just get a text that says temperature. So what we do is that we put this and then we add input temperature. So we define the temperature as an input. And of course, this will be explained as the input of the sensor that we have. Okay, after that we have to, as I said before, conclude the we have to conclude, of course, the forever loop. We cannot keep it open because this is a loop, it will go on forever, so we need to close it. Let's start the simulation. Okay, let us zoom out a bit. So you can see from the sensor here that the temperature is 21 Celsius and it shows in the screen. Now let's change it to 33, for example, and it changes. Okay, stop simulation. Now the same thing is actually for the light sensor. So we are going to do exactly the same thing. But instead of temperature, we are going to display light levels. So how about we do the following? We take the code, we paste it here. It's exactly the same thing. However, we are going to change the input from temperature to light underscore level. So now we explain that we need light level as an input instead of the temperature. Let's see how this goes. So the light level is 128, and this is what's exhibited over here. Let us change it to 23. And you can see that it changed to 23. Now let's go to the last microbit. And now we are going to display the compass, which is another sensor. Let's put it here. So instead of temperature, I think it's pretty easy for you guys to figure it out now. It's going to be compass heading. Okay, let's start the simulation. Now, how to activate the compass? You click on this icon and you can see here the compass is 0. If you tilt it a bit, it's going to be any value that you tilt it with. So this is 53. Now you have 79, and it all displays here. Now, each one of these microbits is a separate mission by itself. So for each one of them, you will have to generate a link. How do you do that? You click on send to, invite people, and then you copy this link and you put it in the metaverse. So you should have for each microbit a separate link. And one more thing, now since you're done with the missions for day 1, it's time for you to do the special mission. The special mission has 2 parts. The first part is to write your name using the microbit. And the second part is to do your own animation. So try to draw something, try to make it move, and let's see how creative you are.